Come on in, welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about Survivor's most iconic MacGyver moments. For those of you under the age of 50 who don't know what MacGyver is, it was a show airing from 1985 to 1992 about the titular MacGyver, a secret agent who utilized common, everyday objects to invent contraptions to creatively solve his increasingly ridiculous secret agent problems. For example, in the pilot episode, he uses a paperclip to defuse a bomb. This is the least absurd moment of the series.
That MacGyver's a genius.
On Survivor, players have been utilizing their own island ingenuity since Season 1, cobbling together the meager supplies they have to start fires, create a little comfort for the tribe, or even phone home. I've always enjoyed seeing the inventive ways players use what little they have in ways you wouldn't expect. So let's talk about them. For this ranking, I'll be going over the greatest Survivor MacGyver moments, ranking both by how iconic the moments were, as well as how creative the players got with their jungle materials. One last note, I won't be including fake idols or shelters because I've already done videos on those. So cozy up around the fire, send the invite out on the group chat, and is that a super pull in your pants, or are you just happy to see me as we talk about Survivor's best and most iconic MacGyver moments? At number 5 is Joe making hammocks out of fishing nets in Survivor Cambodia. Joe came into Second Chance with a reputation as someone very adept at the island living part of Survivor. I mean, he sure wasn't invited back twice for his strategic game. Reminder that the last time Joe voted correctly was the merge vote of Survivor Worlds Apart. Yeah, he wasn't great at the strategy part, but he was good at the living on a beach part of Survivor. Well, it's important to have a skill. Coming into Cambodia, Joe had 2 goals. Number 1, kiss his dad on the lips. Mission accomplished. Number 2, lower his threat level, which he sought to do by doubling down on the qualities that made him a threat in the first place. Building stuff. On day 4, Joe took the tribe's fishing nets and created a bunch of hammocks for the tribe, swapping out catching fish for catching fish backs. Overall, hanging nets from a tree then sitting on them is hardly the most ingenious move in Survivor history. I'm pretty sure cavemen did that, but Joe turning a reward not getting much use into an amenity getting a lot of use gave Bion a seriously underrated morale boost. So I think it earns its spot on this list just for keeping fish back comfy before the gastrointestinal distress took over. Plus, this episode was literally called Survivor MacGyver, so I've legally got to include it. At number 4 is the Super Pole 2000, invented by Sean in Survivor Borneo. Regular poles are so 90s. Welcome to the new millennium, baby. This is the Super Pole. Sean crafted the Super Pole 2000 early on in Borneo, converting an ordinary stick into a long fishing pole complete with rod and reel. And don't forget the man's grip.
I got the man's grip.
Day in, day out, Sean was out there fishing with his trusty super pole, leading to a whole lot of nothing, which he blamed on the ocean being overfished. Yeah, by Richard. After Toggy won fishing gear, Rich completely usurped Sean's attempted providing with actual providing, catching a stingray as well as scores of fish. Final fish tally by season's end? Rich and his reportedly not-so-super pole, ballpark let's say 100 fish. Sean's super pole? Well, he tried. The super pole even got its own little story arc in Borneo, which is more than dirt can say. It's still here all the way at the end of the game, the most pointless Day 39 finalist until Natalie Tenorelli came along. And heartwarmingly, as they're saying goodbye to the island and burning what remains of their camp, Rich and Kelly toss the super pole onto the fire as well, a fitting send-off for a truly useless invention. Godspeed, Super Pole. May you actually catch literally any fish in the next life. At number 3 is Tony inventing a ladder in Survivor Winners at War. Ladders have been having a good run on Survivor lately. Some pretty iconic ladders out there, but few ladders are as iconic as Tony's ladder in Winners at War, assembled from bamboo and twine. While Tony ostensibly built this to knock some papayas out of the trees, this ladder actually served a dual purpose, keeping him busy. As we all know, Tony left to his own devices is chaotic. Here he is charging off into the forest 5 seconds into Survivor Game Changers, and here's said results of that a few days later. So coming into Winners at War, Tony knew he had to just lay low for the first few rounds of the game. Except he's not the kind of guy who can ever lay low, so he channeled his restlessness and energy into little projects around camp, but the latter was definitely his most memorable. This is just the kind of joyful, here's all your faves interacting scene that make All-Star seasons so fun. Tony and Kim and Sophie and Tyson goofing around with a ladder. It kind of reminds me of the deleted scene from Survivor All-Stars where Shapira has a mock tribal council and they roast the entire Saboga tribe in the process. Just distilled Survivor returnee fun. And here's another parallel, Amber even MacGyver's Tina's tits out of coconuts. Overall, Tony's ladder isn't some massively important scene or anything, nor is it expertly engineered. But it is extremely fun and memorable, and it could only be more Tony if he started speaking llama during it. At number 2 is Shane making a BlackBerry phone out of driftwood in Survivor Exile Island. Creating a telephone out of driftwood seriously seems like a subplot that would actually happen in the actual show MacGyver. Shane used his BlackBerry to communicate with his family back home and update them on his new life in Panama. This predictive text is crazy. I can just type murder and it autofills Courtney in right after. Crazy people creating fantasy phones have been a thing on Survivor since season 1, but I'm giving the edge to Shane's BlackBerry over Greg's coconut phone because this is simply years worth of technological improvements in a single piece of wood. Coconut phone. Big, bulky, spotty reception, probably gotta pull the antenna out. BlackBerry? Tactile QWERTY keyboard, email functionality, gorgeous 320 by 240 pixel screen. This is the phone of the future. Technology will never get better, and this will never go out of style. They say the line between genius and insanity is razor thin, and no survivor embodies that principle more than Shane, who seemingly hung on the brink of committing a quadruple homicide every episode, while simultaneously being at the center of every alliance ever on Kasaya. And stunts like creating a fake phone out of driftwood exemplify that bizarre dichotomy only he ever managed to pull off. This is actually crazy people stuff, but also bizarrely endearing. Yeah, at least until he starts yelling at people for no reason.
I want one! This one! If you want this one, I'll go get another one! I just want mine! This one!
If only he could MacGyver himself some smokes. At number 1, the most iconic Survivor MacGyver moment ever is Yao Man using his glasses to start a fire in Survivor Micronesia. Plenty of survivors have started fire without flint. Gretchen did it all the way back in season 1 by snapping BB's glasses in half. But the most iconic scene by far is Yao Man in Micronesia. Yao was actually inspired by his old Fiji tribe mate Michelle, who created fire 2 seasons prior using Yao's glasses as well. What makes Yao's fire even more impressive is that a lot of players who use glasses to start fire end up breaking them in half to magnify the light. But Yao just used a drop of water on the lens instead to concentrate the light. Pure genius.
Good job, dude.
Yao Man got our fire started miraculously. We're all very excited. We have fire, we've been eating, we've been drinking, we're all well rested, well hydrated, and we're ready to kick some butt.
Yao is such an underrated Survivor MacGyver. Guys like Joe often come to mind when thinking of Survivor MacGyvers, but Yao is easily the most like actual MacGyver. Thoughtful, calm under pressure, and full of creative solutions to time-sensitive problems using very limited resources. For example, in Fiji, he utilized his physics knowledge to know precisely where and how to drop the supply crate to crack it open. And in Micronesia, he used the same knowledge to know precisely where and how to slam Fairplay's face to crack it open. Best MacGyver ever. Got nothing else for ya. Don't make me go fishing for views like I'm Sean using the super pole. Like and subscribe and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.